we have to talk about wireless, right? So back when I first started DJing, all you had to do was you set up your microphones once, you scanned them, and that would work for you for months and months on end. You do your sound check one time, and you might get a little bit of buzz, and you'd scan it again, and you'd repeat the process. Those days are long gone, everybody. So I had some wireless issues this past weekend, and I just wanted to explain everything I know about wireless because maybe there's some DJs out there who don't quite understand. I'm going to explain it the technical way, and then I'm going to give you an analogy that I came up with that I thought might help. So there are 3 bands that I know of. There's radio frequencies, there's 2.4 gigahertz, and there's 1.9 gigahertz. Radio frequencies, this is where most DJs' wireless microphones sit. So DJs are on here, phones on here, so your cell phone's on here, radio stations, TV stations, and much more. This is why DJs don't like the company Sprint, because we had a bunch of RF frequencies, a big band, and Sprint came in and bought a huge section of those radio frequencies that we use. So no DJs like Sprint. So that's RF. 2.4 gigahertz is Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, most consumer devices, so your cameras, your drones, etc. This is a very crowded band of wireless. So if you can imagine, like if I was trying to get from A to B in 2.4 gigahertz, I'd be dodging all these other channels, right? So that's 2.4 gigahertz. And then the least common is 1.9 gigahertz. You can run wireless mics on these, and you can run cordless phones. Not your cell phone, but cordless phones. So if you are a little bit older, you might remember cordless phones. Hotels use them, office buildings use them. Anyway, RF is by far the most popular for DJs. 2.4 you'll find at the lower end because that space is just so crowded. If you're trying to use 2.4 gigahertz, just know that you are way more prone to dropouts and interference and things of that nature. Radio frequencies is by far the most popular, and sometimes it can be tough depending on the area you're in, but a lot of the times you'll be able to find a radio frequency as long as your system has a way to scan, or you know what frequencies work in your area. So where I got caught, as you can tell from my little explanation here, radio frequencies very crowded, 2.4 gigahertz very crowded, 1.9 not so crowded. So I was looking for microphones that sit in that 1.9 range, and so far for 3.5 to 4.5 years, I can't remember quite when I got it, that's been really effective for me. Well, I was DJing at a hotel on a rooftop and had some issues during a ceremony. Luckily, I had a backup mic, so everything wasn't bad, but I really hate having to show myself as the DJ during a ceremony. I think a really good ceremony, the DJ is invisible, right? Everything just happens, everything sounds good, it's kind of magical in a way, but that was not the case. So I've been looking at different solutions. I did a wedding on Tuesday. I'll talk about that in a second. I DJ'd a wedding on Tuesday and everything went perfectly, so I'm still very confident in my systems, but I'll never look at my gear the same again. It's like you had a trusted friend and they just like stabbed you in the back. That's kind of how I feel about this. So that's everything I know about wireless. If you have more questions, if you have things that I missed or got wrong, let me know in the comments. We're all trying to help each other out here. So here are the key things. You want to know what type of mic you have, like which band it sits in, RF, 2.4, 1.9, and you have to know what you need to watch out for. So if you're using radio frequencies, you have to watch out for radio stations and TV stations that are close. If you are running 2.4 gigahertz, don't set up near a Wi-Fi router. The thing that disperses Wi-Fi to a space, do not set up underneath those things. Stay away from people who might be flying drones or using their cell phone for speakers or anything. If you're in 2.4 gigahertz, you really have to be careful. You have to be line of sight, close to whatever you're trying to operate. Radio frequencies, you have a much longer range, and 1.9, you really just have to look out for cordless phones. That's my understanding. And then the last thing you want to remember is have a backup, and the backup should be different than what your main system is. So if you have an RF mic, your backup can be in 2.4 or 1.9. If you have a 2.4 mic, you probably shouldn't have a 2.4 as your main. So let's say if you have a 1.9 mic, you want to have RF or 2.4 as your backup system. So hopefully that makes sense. We'll talk more about this in a little bit. So again, know what type of microphone you have, know what you need to watch out for, and have a backup, and you should be okay.